John Lee vows to help Hong Kong people realize their dreams. A lawmaker who took pictures with President Xi Jinping tests positive for COVID-19. And Macedonians protest French proposals over a rift with Bulgaria. Good evening and thanks for joining TVB News. Chief Executive John Lee said he will strive to help Hong Kong people realize their dreams. That includes engaging the youth, resuming cross-border travels with the mainland, and to have a home. During the inaugural ceremony of the sixth-term government of the SAR on Friday, President Xi Jinping expressed 4 wishes that he hopes the new administration can achieve.
At least 3 of the wishes are within my manifesto. So that is a very positive reinforcement, which will make me believe that what I'm trying to do is in the right direction. I aim to build an inclusive society, a society which will be caring, give people development and opportunities for them to realize their dreams.
In a city where the average public housing waiting time is about 6 years, being able to live under desirable conditions is perhaps what many people dream of. John Lee noted he has set a goal to stop the growing waiting time for public housing and ultimately to shorten it. The new chief executive said he and his team are brewing new ideas to alleviate housing woes, adding a relevant report will be out in about 3 months' time. On whether there's a timetable for national security legislation under Article 23 of the Basic Law, Lee noted it's not a matter of just passing a bill. He said the legislation must be effective, so a thorough legal research is needed to minimize the need for amendments in future. During President Xi's recent visit to Hong Kong, he drummed up support for young people, noting that when the young people thrive, Hong Kong thrives. We're seeing reports of talent drain. We're seeing that perhaps young people have been arrested in the past few years due to various reasons. How does that turn out for you?
For people who have contravened the law, then of course it is the rule of law that they have to face the consequences. But after they have faced the consequences, we have a lot of plans to help them to become people who will be of value to society. I will be rolling out a youth strategy. For example, they will become members of some government consultative boards, committees. They will be given positions so they understand how government works. The potentials are great because now we have GBA.
John Lee revealed there are ongoing discussions with the mainland over limited quarantine-free cross-border travels, but he stressed it's important to lower the city's daily COVID infection numbers and to have more frequent nucleic acid tests for high-risk people. The city reported 1,828 new local COVID cases. 147 of them are imported infections. A lawmaker took part in a photo-taking event with President Xi Jinping shortly before being confirmed COVID positive. Jackie Lin with more.
While the latest COVID case count dipped below the 2,000 level, health authorities say there could be a backlog of infections due to the typhoon, which could be reflected over the coming days. Among the locally transmitted cases is lawmaker Stephen Ho. He tested positive 2 days after meeting President Xi Jinping during the state leader's 2-day visit to the SAR. He stood 2 rows behind Xi in a photo-taking session on June 30th. That day, Ho tested COVID negative, but his screening came back indeterminate on the July 1st handover anniversary before being confirmed infected on Saturday. The lawmaker says he has a low viral load and is extremely non-transmissible. And when asked about the infection risk for the state leader, health authorities didn't directly respond.
Any infection risk for presidency?
Usually, for classification of close contact during contact tracing, we will classify persons who had face-to-face direct contact with another person without mask as close contacts, as well as their household contacts.
Meanwhile, the cluster linked to a hot pot restaurant in Kuntong continues to grow. The number of infections there has risen to 14 after 2 more patrons caught COVID. They include a suspected case of reinfection. The 32-year-old man has received 1 vaccine dose and was infected back in March. Still, all environmental samples in the eatery came back COVID negative. The air exchange rate also passed standards. There are burgeoning caseloads linked to BA4 and BA5 subvariants too. Among the 100-strong new cases allegedly carrying these 2 Omicron strains, more than 73 have untraceable sources. Meanwhile, 4 more elderly care homes also reported infections. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
The mainland recorded 385 new local COVID cases. Anhui Province reported 61 locally transmitted cases, as well as 231 local asymptomatic carriers on Saturday. From June 26th to July 2nd, a total of 105 locally transmitted cases and 467 asymptomatic carriers had been logged in the latest epidemic resurgence in Anhui. Experts from the National Health Commission have arrived in the province to handle the outbreak. Overseas, Ukraine forces have hit a Russian base in the southern city of Melitopol, but according to a Moscow-installed official, there were no casualties. This as the battle for Lysychansk, Ukraine's last big holdout in Luhansk, appears to be nearing a conclusion unfavorable to Kiev. Russia tonight said it had taken all of Luhansk. Matthew Bray has the story.
The Russian Defense Ministry released footage of what it says is its forces targeting Ukraine positions in and around Lysychansk. There is no way of knowing, though, when and where these alleged attacks took place. They say they have encircled the city and control all major strategic locations. Ukraine rejects the encirclement idea, saying instead fighting is intense. And this strike from yesterday on an apartment block in the Odessa region using anti-ship missiles. Several people were killed.
Никакой техники военной в этом доме не было.
Larissa Andrichenko said she survived because she went to the kitchen at 1 a.m. Then the blast came, she said, and everything blew open. On the other side of the ledger, this is apparently Ukraine forces blowing up an army depot in eastern Ukraine, location unknown. And Russia continues to issue footage of people receiving Russian passports in the Donetsk region. Didn't seem to be a rush of takers, however. Matthew Bray, TVB News.
North Macedonia has waited 17 years to join the European Union, but a dispute with Bulgaria over the country's identity is proving to be a major stumbling block. Nazvi Karim has more.
Bulgaria says North Macedonia, formerly the Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, was a creation of convenience by the late Yugoslav leader Josip Tito. The North Macedonians, though, insist they have their own unique identity, with some tracing it back all the way to Alexander the Great. A long-standing dispute that is blocking entry to the European Union for the country of 2 million. France says it has a proposal aimed at solving the issue and is backed by the North Macedonian government. But tens of thousands of citizens have rejected the French deal, with supporters allied to the opposition centre-right party taking to the streets of Skopje, calling on the government to resign. The government says the French proposal offers a solid base for North Macedonia to end its 17-year wait for EU membership. Opponents, though, say it favours Bulgarian demands that contradicts the country's history, language, identity, culture and inheritance. With the 27-country EU needing all members to approve any expansion, Bulgaria insists North Macedonia formally recognise that its language has Bulgarian roots and acknowledge a Bulgarian minority in its constitution. Natasha Kotla, professor at the Institute of National History, addressed the crowd saying, "Every people in the world have a right of self-determination. So the Macedonian people too have a right of self-determination and to decide about their own identity." The country received the green light in 2020 to begin EU accession talks, but no date for the start of negotiations has been set. The dispute has also stalled Albania's progress towards membership because the EU is treating the pair as a political package. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Libya is bracing for more protests after demonstrators set fire to the parliament building in Tobruk and citizens took to the streets in the capital and other cities. Protesters waved Libyan flags and cheered after storming the parliament building and setting it alight. They accused politicians of treason and stealing public money. In the capital city, Tripoli, protesters vented their frustration at what is says to be political chaos and division that prevented the country from holding elections in December. They are calling for the removal of the current political class and for fresh elections to be held. The situation has been made worse after the Tobruk-based House of Representatives Parliament appointed Fatih Bashagha to head a new government with interim unity Prime Minister Abdulhamid Al-Dbeiba in Tripoli refusing to hand over power. Still ahead on tonight's news. 23 crew members of sunken vessel remain missing southwest of Hong Kong. The Hong Kong Palace Museum goes into operation. And Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Myanmar to attend a meeting of a cooperation group. Welcome back to TVB News. 27 people remain missing after a construction vessel broke in two and sank in waters about 300 kilometers southwest of Hong Kong. The government flying service said this is the first time they have dispatched all available aircraft and manpower on one single rescue mission. Mainland authorities also took part in the rescue. Caleb Low reports.
With a length of 204 meters, it only took half an hour before this mainland construction vessel completely sank. The Government Flying Service, or GFS, dispatched 18 pilots and 18 aircrew officers to take part in this rescue operation. The operation is still ongoing. Waters off the city of Yangjian because of Typhoon Chaba, but the vessel got into trouble after its anchor chain broke. GFS said the rescue mission was a difficult one, as the aircraft being sent to the incident location were facing headwinds of more than 90 kilometers per hour. More than 100 turbines of the nearby wind farm also hindered helicopters descending to reach the sinking vessel. While 3 seamen were rescued from Fujing 001, 27 others remain missing.
In our previous experience, I think the chance, first of all, to find them survive is very challenging. Given the weather and also the conditions. And in our previous experience, I think the chance to finding them alive is very, very slim.
Chief Secretary for Administration Eric Chan has ordered the Security Bureau and other relevant government departments to expand the search and rescue area. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
An environmental group has called for a higher plastic bag levy, saying the government's proposed $1 charge lacks the bite to reduce plastic bag usage. This as a greeners action. Estimated some 170 million plastic bags are handed out at supermarkets in Hong Kong every year. In June, the Green Group also surveyed more than 770 citizens. It found around 75% of respondents believe the plastic bag levy should be set at $2 or above to have enough deterrent effects. Around 40% even agreed with a fee of $5 or more per bag. The group says not only should the government elevate the proposed $1 levy, but there should also be better training for supermarket staff on more prudent distribution of plastic bags. Hundreds of people flocked to the Hong Kong Palace Museum today after its grand opening yesterday was postponed because of the typhoon. A traditional lion dance kicked off the museum operations. Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Kevin Yeung and Chairman of the museum Bernard Chan officiated at the ceremony. All visitors must go through security screening. A total of 914 treasures are on display in 9 different exhibition halls. Chinese emperor costume and chairs are among the most popular national treasures. The opening time of the museum today has been extended to accommodate visitors who were supposed to come yesterday, as well as those holding today's tickets. Film director and screenwriter Alex Law Kai-yo passed away last night at the age of 69. It's understood that Law died from a heart attack. Together with his partner Mabel Jung, the two have directed and produced many classic films such as The Illegal Immigrant, An Autumn's Tale, and 8 Tales of Gold. The two met at New York University and were classmates in film school. He won the Hong Kong Film Award for Best Screenplay in 1988 for An Autumn's Tale and again in 2010 for Echoes of the Rainbow. Renowned novelist and screenwriter Nee Guan has died at the age of 87. Born in 1935 in Zhejiang province, Nee has written more than 300 Chinese martial arts and science fiction novels. Nee's science fiction novels usually take the form of detective and mystery stories featuring extraterrestrial life. His best-known works are the Wisely series. Nee migrated to the United States during the 1990s, but returned to Hong Kong in 2005. Rescuers in India are battling to retrieve the bodies of people killed during floods and mudslides in the northeastern state of Manipur. 21 of the confirmed 26 dead were members of the Territorial Army providing security for railway officials amid a decades-old insurgency in the region. Dozens of people are still missing, with rescue work hampered by fresh rain and falling boulders after a mudslide wiped out a railroad construction site. More than 250 soldiers, rescuers and police were involved in the operation. An estimated 200 people have been killed in heavy downpours and mudslides in India's northeastern states, while hundreds of thousands have been displaced. Sudanese security forces have clashed with democracy protesters in the capital, Khartoum, a day after 9 people were reportedly killed in the largest rallies for months. The rallies last Thursday that saw people gunned down came after 8 months of demonstrations against the military, which staged a coup in October 2021. Protest groups are demanding a return to democratic rule, which was in place partially following the 2019 overthrow of dictator Omar al-Bashir. Sudanese authorities usually meet protests with violence. Since the military took over, 113 people have so far been killed, including 18 children. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris has slammed the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade during an interview in New Orleans. This comes as Google announced it will purge information about users who visit U.S. abortion clinics in order for them to avoid potential prosecution in various states. Dan Rao tells us more.
U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris made the comments at the 28th Essence Festival of Culture in New Orleans. She described the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade as outrageous, calling it the first time in U.S. history that a recognized constitutional right had been taken away from American women.
The Supreme Court, with the Dobbs decision, for the first time in the history of our nation, took a constitutional right that had been recognized and took it from the women of America. Took a constitutional right. And what is so outrageous about this on every level is, one, it is the taking of a right that was given and guaranteed and something that we took for granted to be settled law.
Yeah.
So what that means then in terms of what else might be vulnerable that we otherwise thought was settled law, including issues like contraception, including issues like same-sex marriage, including the intimate decisions that people should be able to make about what I call heart and home without government interference.
Meanwhile, Google announced it will automatically purge information about users who visit U.S. abortion clinics, with the Supreme Court having opened the door for states to ban the termination of pregnancies. The promise comes with pressure mounting on Google and other big tech companies to do more to protect sensitive personal information through their services from government authorities. Fears have arisen that after the overturning of Roe v. Wade, records about people's location, text searches and emails could be used in prosecutions against abortion procedures. Google has also reiterated that it resists search warrants for its data and similar demands that appear to be baseless or overly broad. Daniel Rowe, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching.